Hey, hi. Here we go. All right, I'm gonna do a combination of two ideas because I filmed something this morning and I didn't like it. I don't love everything I do, but then I talked to Joel and I had a different idea of what I want to do. So I have two topics, and one of them is change is hard, and then I'm gonna pair it with now is the time. All right. And now is the time to bring our practice forward into our game. And change is hard. And I get that change is hard. And so why is change so hard? And I think the way I think for people, for myself, I'll just speak for myself. It's kind of like Lord of the Rings. There's that ring and there's Gollum, and he's my precious, and he's holding on. He just wants that ring. And I believe that our comfort, our current level of ability or execution or familiarity with things is like our precious, right? We don't want to lose that. We don't want to go backwards, typically. So, especially if we kind of look at our high level of play and say, our highest level of play and say, that's where we're supposed to be. And we make the mistake of not understanding the rule of thirds, and that we have ranges, and that sometimes it's hot garbage and sometimes it's average and sometimes it's high. So if we're sort of like results focused and we're really stuck on, we should be in our high range and we're not at our high range enough, and so we're frustrated, so now we're playing in our lower range and we hit slumps and all this stuff that can snowball and happen. Well, then we become so attached to what we have with our game, and we don't, the trap that we get into is we have no resiliency to take a step back. That sounds awful, right? Because if we're so attached and we're so strangling out the little bit of results that we get, we absolutely cannot have any, likely we're not going to have any room for resiliency to go backwards with our game, because that's might need to happen if we're going to move forward. And so I get it. I understand. That's why change is hard, because I'm barely holding on here. How can you expect me to go backwards a little bit, right? I'm holding on to this precious thing and I don't want to lose it because it's so precious to me. So how can I let that go and trust that things are going to be better? And that's where I think people get a little bit stuck, and they get kind of caught in that loop where they're not growing and not moving forward. And yeah, so that's kind of like so for me, from what I'm seeing from people or what I'm seeing from myself in the past and all that stuff, that's kind of like the why behind it, or the reasoning. The other thing is that change is hard because it's my experience. Gosh, I butcher that word. Experience. Irene says I say experience. I'm sorry if I do. I'm slop talking sometimes. My experience is that change is less difficult for me because I hold this all lightly. And there was a time where and I've talked about this before, it's very easy for me to throw away my game. Doesn't matter if it's 700 or 715 or whatever it's at the time. I'm totally fine just crumpling it up and starting over, because I know that change is necessary for growth. And like I said, I'm not willy-nilly changing things. I'm not like going to scam aiming system guys and saying, help me, give me the secret. I'm willing to do anything and I'll buy your snake oil. That's not my thing. That's not what I'm talking about. But what I'm talking about is when I have to make changes that are uncomfortable, I'm more than comfortable making those changes. And the reason why is because I am at the bottom. I'm just consistently at the bottom. Like, to me, a 700 game, stuck at 700, is the bottom of my pool game, that's like I've bottomed out, right? If I stay stuck at 700 the rest of my life, like I can have acceptance for that, right? I can totally have acceptance for that. And that's the other part. It's like I have acceptance for where I'm at. I have acceptance if I go backwards. And I also am honest enough with myself to say, this is my bottom. Like my current state of play is my bottom. So I have zero problem adjusting and giving up that mindset or whatever I'm doing and moving forward with a new thing, because I'm bottomed out. Like it can't get any worse. So I'm totally fine moving forward. I'm stuck here on this thing, and my wife's got her body bars down there. And okay. All right. So that's part of the reason. And so I'm not my precious. I'm not holding on to my game like it's some sort of precious thing. I'm just like, well, it's not what I want. And sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. And overall, when I'm honest, I'm like, well, I need to get doing a lot of things better in order to get to where I want to be. So I go out to Derby and I get a picture. I get a snapshot of what 750 looks like. And I go, okay, this is what 750 looks like. And here's what I need to do to move towards that. So I'm totally at my bottom. I'm not 750. So I'm totally good, just trashing what I got and just sort of understanding that I'm not risking anything, and that I want to aggressively go towards making changes that'll make me a better player. And so that's why change is kind of easy for me. So Joel was like, why is change easy for you? Because Joel's like, everyone comes up to this ledge and then they can't jump off. And why do you jump off? And I'm explaining to you guys why I can jump off that ledge and take those risks and happily take them. I'm totally fine doing it. It's on all kinds of videos. And it doesn't matter if I have the biggest match of my life in 2 weeks. I'll crumple up my game if it makes sense, and I'll start over. And I'll realize that I got about 2 weeks to get this to be somewhat comfortable, and then I'm going to go test it in this biggest match of my life thing. Who cares? And I'll just deal with the results. Like, I'm okay. It's not like precious, right? And then when I go play, I let go as much as I can, and I just try to push forward with that change and have acceptance and understand, like, that it was clunky for 2 weeks. And then by the time we turn on the camera and I got to go fight, that I'm fine. And then I'll probably be able to just accept any outcome and try to organically let that change come into my game. Okay, so that's kind of my approach. And what I'm seeing from people is that they're having a difficult time making changes in their game. And it's because they're holding on to what they have too tightly. And I think that's what it is, honestly. And I think what I mean by now is the time is that if I teach a shot, right? And I spend an hour teaching someone a shot in a lesson, or 2 shots, or whatever. For them to go into a league match the next day, 2 days later, and to not be able to bring that out and look at that situation and be like, this is the situation that I trained for. This is the exact shot that I've been working on. Let's see if we can bring it out. And now is the time. Now is the time to test it. Well, I think what happens is I go and I watch and I see my students and my friends and people that I'm working with. The way Jolie said is, if we can even put it off one day, that's going to be hard to have change, because they'll say, I can watch them play and I can kind of see it in real time, and I can see it be like, not today, today's not the day. We're still not comfortable. And so there's one player that I'm working with, and he hit a shot, and he told me he hit it for hours, right? And I was so excited. And I was like, well, that's awesome, man. Like, that's a huge deal to be able to hit shots for hours and get this ingrained. But then I watched him in leagues, and and he was in a situation where I'm like, now is the time. Let's see that 6 hours worth of work or 9 hours worth of work. Let's see that come out. And he just reverted back to his old ways and hit a shot not the way we had worked together. Like he was going off the lock-in video with the ball frozen here and cutting it. And he was like, I'm making that ball, I'm locking in, I'm everything. And then I watch him play in leagues and he has a ball hanging in front of the pocket. And he basically, instead of coming down, folding, once, twice, and then lock and push through, he basically almost shot by the time his hand hit the table, and he just like spaz shot the shot. And I'm like, man, it's so crazy, because he just worked for 6 to 9 hours on dropping down and locking in, and now he's in a spot where the pressure's up a little bit. It's towards the end of the set, and he's got it open 3 balls, and all he needs to do is just lock in and push this ball in, and he hit it like he used to, which is just kind of like dropping and just jumping up and shooting it randomly, kind of, and not locking and staying down and doing the other thing. So it's okay. It's totally okay, because I get it. Change is hard. But I would just say, like, I would encourage, if a person it does that, and I would encourage them to look at it and say, let's try to ask ourselves for more, right? So how do we do it? How do we make the change? How do we do it? Like, how do we do it? How do we do it? Like, part of it is the mental part of accepting that we might go backwards and things, all that stuff, right? But now here's the way to actually physically do it in a match. I'll tell you what I do, and I'll say what I think we need to do, or at least try, please. Everybody has one thing, okay? I can watch a person and I can assess, and then I can advise, right? That's what I do. I assess and advise. And when I go to leagues, I watch a player and I say, okay, here's the one thing that you need to do. And for this player, what I needed him to do, I sent him the video on locking in, with the cue ball frozen and hitting that shot. And I said, I need you to not flinch. I need you to look at the ball and push it in and not move. And I need you to connect to that shot. I need you to do what I'm doing in this video. I need you to stay locked on the ball. And so this particular player is extremely gifted at ball pocketing. He understands how things work. He's just going at 1,000,000 miles per hour. And his one thing that he could do is to slow down and lock on the object ball, and to push and trust and don't move. And it can change, right? Because once he gets that down, might be something else would pop up. And then we just go do that one thing. But basically, we train and we try to develop one area of weakness, and then we go to play a match, and then we look to bring that training into our match. And when we train, we're not so concerned about results, because we're working this process task, which for me, when I did that video, was just shooting that ball and locking in. And I got like a 50% on the first one. And I'm like, I don't know, man, maybe I'll get 40 or 30 on the second 1%. And I ended up getting 13 out of 15 on it, because I was locked in. As a result of working my process, I was able to hit some really great shots and build that trust and do what I was trying to accomplish. And so what I'm saying is, when we do something in training, then when we go practice, we go into a match, we need to bring that one thing forward. Let everything else take care of itself. So if my thing is locking in, then I'm going to go to the match. I'm going to still have the strategy. I'm still have the biomechanics, physics, geometry, the mental stuff. It'll all be kind of floating around. But if I bring one thing to the match that I want to accomplish, that if I do this one process thing, I'll be good. That's all I can do in that day. I don't have to do 10 things. I just have to do one thing. And that keeps me from getting overwhelmed. It totally keeps me from getting overwhelmed. And everything around outside of that sort of takes care of itself. And as I get focused on doing the one thing, I'm relaxed. I don't feel overwhelmed. And then the other things, I kind of have more space in my brain for. And that's what I'm seeing a lot, is that people are overwhelmed, right? And I'm trying to say, okay, I'm giving information. People are working on their thing. I get it. The next evolution of this is, how do we get our practice to come into our game? And the way that I can suggest doing that is just identifying one thing and bringing that into the game for that set, bringing it first into your practice session, and results be damned, just do this thing and see if by doing this one thing, it increases your ability to like have good results. And then if that happens in practice, then just do that same thing in a match and just look for opportunities to do that thing, right? And it can be anything, right? Because everybody has their thing. With this one player, it's locking on the ball is going to change this guy's bum life. And I just need him to do that one thing. There's other players where it might be, you know what, they're too timid. So this guy's too aggressive. He shoots too fast, too aggressive. And I need him to slow down and be a little bit more deliberate in locking. Now there's other players that are too deliberate, and I look and I assess and I say, you're a little too deliberate. You're in your own head. This is not working. We need you to shoot a little faster and accelerate through. And so if you start playing a little aggro, that's totally fine, because the timid thing is not working. We need to change the situation. The timid thing's not working. So now let's get more aggressive and let's start accelerating through the ball and start overrunning our position or start rattling balls or whatever is totally fine. But we need to, the timid isn't working. So now we need to, in the slow timid, there's certain players that I'm watching and I'm like, they're a little too methodical. They're a little too slow. They're a little too in their head. And we need to move them closer to the feel player category. The one guy who's a feel player, I need to slow him down. I need to bring him down to the more analytical side. This over analytical person, I need to bring them, their solution is to be a little bit less analytical, a little more feel, and to just accelerate and be okay with the outcome, right? And that could change. Like they could go do that, and they could get too aggressive, and then they could back it off. But just staying in that timid state is not going to work, and staying in that over aggressive state is not going to work. So we have to kind of look at where a person is at and then make an assessment from there. So another thing, Jolie doesn't mind me talking about him. So my thing for Jolie is, Jolie, bro, I need you. I don't need him to do anything. Jolie can do his thing. But if Jolie needs to practice, if he wants to play better, he has to practice. And so his change is, I went from a 50 rate to a 75 rate by he practiced maybe for a week or two, and then he's watched a bunch of videos, and he and I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of talking. And so, we got him somewhat calm, got him more present, got him all in on thickness. And so now Jolie stopped shooting his balls in a little bit too, sort of, but not really. And now he's like a 72 or 73 in the league. So now Jolie's like one of the better rated players on the team. And now he doesn't have that need for change, right? He's not bottomed out. But when you talk to Joel, he is bottomed out. I mean, he wants to play better. He would love to play not 500, but like 600, or he's got like 650 stuff. And so, he maybe knows that, maybe doesn't know that. I know it. So I'm watching, and I know that there's a lot that Joel would want to do with pool if he could get playing and having fun with it. And it's just really cool. So I can't want it more than Joel wants it. But so let's forget about that. What I'm saying is, take me out of the equation, this whole thing with Jolie, and just say, Jolie's issue is, that's just fuzz, not a buggy. Jolie's issue is he never practices. So basically the change Jolie makes is to just start practicing, bro. Like, who cares if you're practicing perfect or not perfect? He will practice closer to perfect than not perfect because he understands. I'm not saying I have perfect practice. I just broke my shoulder, patted myself in the back. But he's locked in, man. Like, Jolie does, what to hit and how to hit them is not going to be a problem for Jolie. He just needs to hit balls, and he needs to start doing this stuff. So that's his issue. So his thing is, the change that he needs to make is just start hitting balls to practice. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be anything. So that's kind of the change. And until he makes that change, he'll stay the same. He won't get any better. He'll probably get worse. And he has gotten into slumps. Like, he was killing it for a while, and then Jolie, don't lose. That's what he would say. Jolie, don't lose. But then Jolie went in a slump where he lost like 4 or 5 weeks in a row. And now Jolie used to never miss 8 balls either. Jolie, don't miss 8 balls. Well, Jolie's missing 8 balls and Jolie's losing now. So Jolie's learning that, you can't just do the same thing and not have any, live without change. And it's like, if you're not going forward, a lot of times you just end up going backwards. So anyways, so that's the situation for him. So everybody has their thing. I have my thing, right? If I'm going to go to Derby, I need to be able to not twist out when I'm nervous. I need to which I can live with that. Of course I can live with that, and I will accept that that's there, but I'm going to work on it. That's it. I also need to work on banking and kicking and playing, and I just need to be hitting balls and all that stuff. I don't have to play perfect. I don't have to have like perfect anything, but I just need to be working on some things and continuing to work on things, right? That's why I have this channel, because I have a cue in my hand every day. And you know what? If this kid has a cue in his hand, 52 years old, if this guy has a cue in his hand for anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour a day, then I'm a problem for people. And up to a lower pro level, I can be a problem even. So I understand that, so that's why I start the channel. Now, am I going to be out in my garage hitting 3,000 racks and playing for 6 hours on a Saturday and grinding? No, I don't have that in me anymore. I don't know. I mean, it's just not there, which is fine. So I have acceptance, but I'm able and capable of realizing that I need to do things differently, and this is part of my process of doing things differently. I'm out of my situation. I have more time. I have more brain space, and I'm playing more, and I'm happier. I'm more joyful. So I've made these adjustments in my life to bring more joy for my life and for my game. And now here I am. And, I did the hard things and made the changes. And basically I took something that I built, and I didn't try to crumple it up. Trust me, I tried to stay as part of that business and tried to move the business forward, but I wasn't afraid of the situation where I was no longer involved with that business. I understood that was one of the possible outcomes of the 4 or 5 outcomes I presented, and that's what they chose, and that's totally fine. And so as a result of that, now I am moving forward in this awesome way, and everything's better, and I'm happier, and things are great, and now we're here together, and yay us, and they'll be fine. They're doing their thing, and I'm sure they're happier without me. So everyone wins. That's great. But the whole point is I'm not afraid to make changes, and that's it. I'm just absolutely not afraid to make changes. I hold things loosely, except for much like Fast and Furious, except for family. I hold that tight, my family. But yeah, okay, and my friends too. But let's see what else. Change is hard, look for chances to change. So that's what we want to do too. When we make these changes in our game and we learn these things, we need to look for an opportunity to bring them out in our game. And we need to look at it and say, okay, if I'm hitting this shot and I'm locking in, now I want to look for that opportunity to lock in the next time I'm playing. And I want to test that out. Right? Or if I'm trying to, what's some other process goals? Staying present, right? If I'm trying to stay present and design the shot and execute, so basically what I'm trying to do is just be present on every shot. Well, it's not about hitting the ball correct or missing or making it. It's about designing the shot and then hitting it to the best of my ability with the abilities I have in that moment in time. Right? So that's one thing that I've done. It's I've gone to tournaments before where I'm just going to be present on every shot. I don't know if that's going to work or not work, but that's what I'm going to do. And I'll just play an entire tournament where I'm present every shot. The thing I told Jolie before I left, because besides practicing, I said, okay, Jolie, you're not going to practice. We get it. You're not going to practice. That's fine. Here's what I need you to do. Do this, okay? Just breathe, box breathe, okay? Box, breathe, and stop reacting. So box, breathe, and stop reacting. That has nothing to do with even having a cue in your hand. You can do that without ever picking up a cue. And you can even practice it, right? So if Joel's 3 hours or 4 hours out of league and he starts getting anxious about it, breathe. 4 in, hold 4, 4 out, 8 out, whatever. He can just do that at home, in his car, at the job site, whatever, when we're around. And I'm just saying, do something, make the change. And what I'm telling Joel is that it's not even about, for him in that situation, it's not even about the pool game. It's just, we're trying to build oxygen to the brain so he can get into his executive function when he's playing. So if he can get in the habit of at least breathing, that is going to be huge for him. He doesn't have to even practice or hit any balls. I just need him to breathe and not react. And basically, if he goes to league next week and he never practices, other than breathing and not reacting, he's probably going to play, like as a result of that, as a byproduct of that, he's probably going to play awesome. That's what would happen. I just know it. That's what would happen. And so that's how we look at things and assess. That's how I look at things and assess. I say, what is it that I need to do today to do better, to be better? What is it that XYZ student or friend or person on the team or whatever, what do they need to do? I watch what they do and then I say, let's just do this one thing. And that's kind of where I'm going now. I've been doing this for a couple years and I am learning. I'm learning through this process, right? And what I'm learning is that I assume people will do this on their own, but I assume wrong, like constantly. And I'm willing to admit I make mistakes. I make assumptions that people can do this stuff or that they can figure it out. Or if I just lay out 7 balls with what pockets they go in and what order, that someone will go and say, well, if I wanted to solve this, I'm going to work backwards from the 15, go to the 15 to the 8, then I'm going to go from the 14 to the 15, and I'm going to do that situation and hit those 200 times before I even moved to the 13. And it's like, I assume everyone does that. And I've found out that no, I'm probably in a very, very small percentage of people that understands how to break things down and engineer them backwards and train like that. So now I have to rework the way that I present this information. And it's the same thing. This is why we keep talking and I keep doing these podcasts, because I go and I watch and I learn and I say, okay, crumple up what I was doing in training, and we're just going to start over again today. So I crumple up what I'm doing, and I stand behind everything I've told anybody on a video. I'm not saying I never made a mistake, but I'm saying I'm very thoughtful with what I do. I stand behind my information and my material. I'm not out here gunslinging and guessing at stuff. And if I am like kind of speculating, I'll tell people, like, this is what I do. You figure it out for yourself. Or if somebody says, hey man, time on tip is a myth, I'm like, cool. Awesome. Like I'm good to know that information. I was wrong. Now I still do it because I like the visual of it, whatever. But what I'm saying is I'm going to crumple up what I'm teaching you guys in a way for me, and I'm asking you to do the same. And I'm saying, let's crumple it up and let's just identify one thing. Okay. So whatever your thing is, if it's distraction, okay, I'm going to take one of the tips off that last video that I did about distraction. If I was a distracted player, my coach says, try these 5 things. Just try one of them and just do it in your next match or your next practice session and see if it works. See if it helps you be less distracted, whatever. And I would just say, whatever it is, XYZ thing that you're presenting as a problem, as they say in therapy, you're presenting problem, just once it's presented and a solution is sort of proposed, then we need to push our chips in and try to do that one thing. That's it. That's it. So yeah. So if you're coaching yourself, just take time to think, what is the one thing that I can do that will propel me forward? And it's likely going to be a process thing. What's one thing I can do in my game or my process that's going to help set me up that the rest of the things will be good? Like for Jolie, it's breathing. It's just breathing and not reacting. For other people, it's locking on and not flinching and not jumping and not shooting super fast, but just being calm. For other people, it's locking on less almost and taking less time and less in your head and less designing and more quickly designing and then getting used to just trusting and firing. So it kind of depends on the person, right? It could be if a person has a biomechanical thing and say they're coming down at this angle like this, it's possible to just say, okay, I'm going to play pool in the entire set, it's going to look like this most of the time, uphill to get that cue level. And it's like, it doesn't matter if I win or lose. This is how I'm practicing today, right? It's it. So when I'm braking, I spin off to the right. So if I'm braking, there's a couple things that I do. And it's like, I know through practice that I get really short and compact, because when I get long, I get wild. So when I'm braking and I'm in a match and I'm braking wild, I just go, all I need to do is that one thing. The one thing I need to do now when I get back to brake is I need to get compact, right? And then I'll start and I'll hit one compact and I'll see the cue ball get flat. And I'm like, oh, I like this. I like this. And then I'm calm, and now I'm ready to try something else if I need to try something else. But like, I have these go-to things, and I just say, what is the one thing that I can do? Not the three things, but the one thing. And so to me, that's like obvious that it's like we can only do one thing at a time, kind of. But I'm finding out that that's not obvious to everybody. So I'm apologizing and I'm saying, okay, sorry, I'm dumping all this information on you if that's the way it feels. But what I'm saying is, let's just identify the one thing and let's do it. And I understand change is hard, but let's let go of that precious and let's just crumple it up, throw it away, and do our thing, because that's how we're going to improve. Okay? Doing the same thing over and over again and holding on and waiting another day is not the way to do it. Not the way to do it. We got to start now. Now is the time. We do it now. Okay? Love you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.